I have a request for you. Please train my colleagues to sing this song. Okay? Many of my colleagues are interested in music. So get hold of them and train them. And then they will come to Soka University and sing this song. With what consequences you will know. All right, let's resume our journey. In the last 5 assembly sessions, we have been making a very simple effort to try and understand some essential aspects of what the founding fathers identified as one of the main ingredients in the culture of St. Stephen's College, which is true religion. You sure? You with me? True religion. I hope you have started thinking on this. Because the practice nowadays is to take the most important thing for granted. And to have all kinds of long-winded disquisitions and discussions and arguments about things that really don't matter. The amount of time and energy wasted on trivials is really a shame. And all important issues are sidelined, pushed out of our consciousness. That is why it becomes necessary for us, at least during assemblies, to try and engage with some of these most fundamental issues. Wherever the human species existed, there was religion in some form or another. The caveman, the pecking man, dating back some 50,000 years ago, still did his paintings on the wall of his hut, trying to represent the divine. The longing for true religion has been an inalienable part of the human existence, human being, from the beginning of the human adventure on planet Earth. And it's right in the root of our being human. Therefore, we cannot really live on the basis of distorted and false notions about what religion is and what that's exactly the situation of Saint at the present time. So we have examined at least 5 important facets of true religion. Today, we look at the 6th, which is extremely important for an academic community. And particularly an academic community that professes its unwavering commitment to the pursuit of truth. And that 6th attribute which I want to commend to you for your discussion, reflection, and personal pursuit is creativity. I wonder how many of you associate religion with creativity. For me, spirituality is all about creativity. For example, various religions acknowledge God in whichever form, by whichever name that you know, acknowledge God as creator. There's no religion that says that everything sprang up on its own volition. Every religion presupposes an originating cause, which is called God. You may differ in your understanding of the particular shape of God, the name of God, the allegiance of God, the partiality of God. All that's okay. But one thing is certain. There's no religion that I know of, with perhaps the exception of Buddhism, that does not really postulate a creator God. In other words, creativity is in the essence of the divine. You cannot have a God who is completely devoid of creativity. Creativity is an attribute of the divine. And it is because of a very particular, very special relationship which is creational, which is written into our creation between God and man, God and human beings, that creativity is of supreme importance for human beings. In fact, even though other forms of life, say birds, certain kinds of animals, show certain rudimentary capacities to create things, the bird builds its nest. So these are rudimentary forms of creativity. But creativity in the true sense of the term is associated with humankind. And the value of a person, the fruitfulness of a person, the stature, the nobility, the dignity, the sublimity of a person actually depends on the extent of his capacity for creativity. Now, if you put, say, 10 people in the same situation, facing the same problem, all 10 of them would react differently and cope with that situation differently. One person may just go into sulking. Another person may take to his heels and run faster than Usain Bolt. Another person may bare his knuckles and ready himself for a fight. Another person may sort of very cleverly watch how the problem is panning out and see how best he can duck it. Another person might, cudgel his brains and find out, what are the, various facets of the situation. How am I going to put everything together so that I come out at least with my life intact? Another person might think, look, this is a situation of tension. The danger that is staring me in the face is because of tension. How can I use my sense of humor to dissipate that tension? So, reactions vary. And the last mentions, the person who tries to overcome the situation using the gift of the sense of humor is somewhat creative. And if you're actually truly creative, you will be able to transform the situation of tension into one of joy and celebration. Human beings by nature are creative. But there is a problem. Not everybody develops himself or herself along the line of creativity. Human beings have the freedom of choice to take the path of creativity or the path of destructiveness. And as a culture declines and becomes progressively sick, more and more people will prefer the path of destructiveness, including the path of self-destructiveness. The sign of the sanity and the wholeness of a society is that the predominant trend leans towards creativity. The sign of the degradation and the depravity of a culture is that an overwhelming number of people prefer or have the taste for violence, for cruelty, for destruction and self-destruction. See, one of the things, for example, that contributed to the decline and fall of the Roman Empire is actually the renunciation of compassion by that culture. And then, of course, the undermining of the family as an institution. These were the two dominant factors that brought down one of the greatest civilizational units in the world, in history, with the great Roman Empire. So, So creativity is of great importance. Now, as students, we are actually located in the domain of creativity. Whatever we are studying, all the intellectual resources, academic resources or material that we are handling are the products of other people's creativity. If creativity were not to be there, St. Stephen's College would not exist and you would not be proud members of this great tradition. So St. Stephen's College tradition itself stands on creativity. Now it certainly is a sign of creativity that 5 missionaries who had absolutely nothing in their pocket, they were exactly like me. जेब था मगर जेब में कुछ भी नहीं था. 5 of them came from Cambridge and pitched their camp in Chandni Chowk and said, this will be the best college in the world. That's called creativity. Now, I'm going to introduce an important aspect of creativity. Creativity is the ability to see what does not exist as yet. Use my words very carefully. What is creativity? Creativity is the ability to see what does not exist as yet, but what may as well exist. Michelangelo was once asked a question as to how he managed to create these images of beauty. He said, I don't create any image of beauty. I simply liberate images of beauty from these blocks of stones or whatever. And unlike us, Michelangelo had the eyes to see something which is not yet, but which can come into being. This is so very important for you, my friends. You know, when you face a situation of difficulty in life, which everyone will, see, these days everybody complains of tension and trauma. Even 10-year-old kids are withering away under tension. You will face difficulties. You will face challenges. You will reach stages when you think that you've reached a dead end. And that is a time it makes a difference between life and death, what you see and what you do not see. If you are a creative person, you will see wonderful possibilities in what others label as the dead end, the cul-de-sac, the dead end. If you don't have creativity, you will think that I don't have it tomorrow. When we have done with it. It is that important. It is that important. You know, I too have been a teacher and I have marked scripts. One of the most boring things in the world. Next only to the work of a traffic cop is that of marking scripts. You know why? Because almost every answer is the same as the other. It's like our 5-year plans. We don't have 12 5-year plans. We have the 12th approach to the same 5-year. I mean, it's deadening in its undeviating fatness when you mark examination scripts. As a student I understood it. And that's where it made all the difference. So what I would do is, I would make sure that I would write what nobody else would. Believe me. And I can't give you a greater secret than this. But please make sure that you write something relevant. If you think of an examiner who reads the script, answer A, 5 points. Now, ठीक है. Next script, same 5 points. 50th script, same 5 points. Same sentence, Same mistakes. What is happening to this man? Have mercy on him. You're killing him. He doesn't want to be killed. So what does he do? He kills you. And why not? Now, this is where education is killing creativity through intellectual regimentation, preventing people from thinking. I wrote an article a few months ago saying, scrap attendance, save education. I sincerely believe that attendance requirement is anti-educational. I sincerely believe that no intellectual work can be done under duress. But I do enforce rules because I am sitting here within a system which is affiliated to the university. It is dishonest on my part to make light of the rules. It's not my choice. But if I have the choice, the first thing I will do is to abolish attendance. Because any form of force, physical violence, systemic violence, emotional violence, mental violence, civilizational violence, any form of violence will kill creativity. Violence and creativity are utterly incompatible. Creativity is akin to peace. Violence is akin only to destruction and a purely mechanical way of life. Now, in societies that have undergone the oppression of totalitarian regimes, I want you to listen very carefully. This could well be your destiny. Societies that have undergone the oppression of totalitarian regimes have witnessed the degradation of the human into the machine. The plasticity, the mobility, the flexibility, the creativity of the human is totally crushed, and only the stiff and stiffened robot survives. The ultimate form of totalitarian oppression is the oppression of your spontaneity. And a human being without spontaneity is a visual abomination. It's an insult to the eye. The greatest tragedy in the world is not murder. It's the degradation of the human to a piece of machine. That's what.